Hello everyone, Railgan here, today in a brightly lit room for once. Yeah, it's Saturday. No, usually I record my videos during the night, so it's very dark. Today I was like, okay guys, let's lighten things up a bit because we're talking about CVP and we're talking about my standard approach to the matchup for the year 2021, at least before Blizzard hopefully buffs ZERG or nerfs PROTOSS, so we can make the matchup a little bit more enjoyable. Nonetheless, I like to play HYDRA LURKER in my standard with Roach frontline, like we have Roaches and we have Hydras and we have Lurkers. If that's the kind of composition you enjoy playing, I'm going to teach you guys in this video how I get to that composition, how I utilize it, and I'll give you all the key pointers so that you can replicate it in your games. We're going to play against a gateway into SkyToss composition this game, so we'll open with a Void Ray into a Gateway Immortal Storm composition, and then he will add carriers, right? I feel like that's a very standard approach from PROTOSS. Of course, we have a couple ways that PROTOSS can play the game. We have the SkyToss Rush, we have all the all-ins from Adept to DT to Archon drop openers. Yeah, we have a whole variety of openers. But I want to give you guys the general pointers that you should be able to use this build afterwards and use it against every build the PROTOSS can throw at you. Now personally, I actually prefer opening with a proxy hatch or with a 12 pool in the current meta. But for the sake of this replay and because it's a lot easier to explain and walk you guys through it, because it makes it very easy for you to replicate it, I opened with a hatch first, that's a 16 hatch, into 18 gas, 17 pool in this game, and then I started droning up. When my hatches are done, I create 2 queens and also create 2 lings at my natural. Important, I want those lings created at my natural. And once, I think at 26 out of 28, I then built the overlord after the queen and the lings. What I do with these lings is I send them across the map. I know he's sending his adept across because I have an overlord position that is natural. And I have another overlord here, so I know where his adept is going, and I want to scout with those lings. At home, I immediately throw down a third base, and I also start building lings. I'm building 6 lings in this game, just for safety's sake. You don't need to build 6 lings. What is important is that you create an additional queen, usually at your natural, so you can start droning up. And that's pretty much required, because you will use the queen to either inject at your third base, to spread creep, or to just defend against the Oracle and Void Rays. Now let's have a quick look at what I'm doing with my lings. You can see my lings reach over here. You will not always be able to get the lings into their main base, but in this game I am able to do so. So the lings go in and I just try to get some vision on his Stargate. This is a lot cheaper than to sacrifice an overlord. If I sacrifice the overlord, I also lose a little bit of time in that way. Because I might get supply blocked and the 100 minerals. It's just very expensive. If I build the lings anyways to kill the probe, I might as well use them for scouting. And oftentimes you will be able to get a scout on the Stargate or whatever tech your PROTOSS opponent is building. So I think it worked out very well this game. At home, once I saw the Stargate, around 3 minutes 30, you want to start building the spore crawlers. Let's have a quick look at what we did with the gas. After I mined 100 gas, 120 in this game, but usually it's just around 100. Once you have 100 gas, I stop mining gas, I start my link speed, then I start trailing drones into the gas. I only put 2 drones in this game. Usually I put in 3 drones, but I think I made a slight mistake. Mistakes happen. Don't sweat it. In the middle of the map, I was able to catch his adepts. Once my link speed is done around 3 minutes 30, I can start to try and take care of the adepts. Adepts in combination with oracles can be very annoying to harass, so even if I just take out 1 adept, that's very good. I'm building 1 spore crawler per mineral line, because this hatch was not fully done yet. I built the spore crawler here and I'm moving it over here right now. I'm building my Roach Warren around the 4-minute mark in this game. There were various timings for when people build the Roach Warren. I prefer to build mine a little bit earlier. Most players, I think, built them either at the 3-minute 45 mark against adepts or at the 4-minute 15 mark for regular standard play. Once they reached 100 gas, I eventually did put that third drone into the mineral, into the gas geyser. I start my lair and I just continuously drone at home and build overlords. You can tell even in Grandmaster League you still get supply blocked. I'm building 3 overlords right now. It's not hyper optimized, but there's no reason to sweat it. If you get supply blocked, just build enough overlords so that you do not immediately get supply blocked again, and then try to keep it in your mind. The only time when you absolutely cannot get are not allowed to get supply blocked is when you are about to be all in, because then you will usually die. Creep here allows me to move into my main base easier. You saw there's like just another little trick, right? The oracles fly into my main base. I'm gonna speed this up quickly, and I immediately pull the drones. First I pulled the drones back that were, let's go back again, sorry. So the drones hatch, I see the oracles, I immediately pull the drones back that were hatching, and then I pull the drones away from the oracles behind the spore crawler, so he would have to commit with his oracles and most likely lose them if he wants to kill any. And like that I was able to lose barely any drones in that little exchange. I started an evolution chamber, getting my gases. Once I have my main and natural saturated, I usually get a second gas. And then once I have my third base saturated, I get all the gases. We built an overlord. There was also a little bit of harassment going on over here, as you can tell. I tried to attack the pylon and stuff like that. It's not that important. You can try to deal damage to your PROTOSS opponent, but usually you will struggle because you have to commit a lot of links to deal with the oracles. Here we're getting stasis trapped. I pull all the drones away, then send one drone in to trigger the trap. And it's easy as that to defend it. Over here we have a void ray. And I'm starting to build roaches right now. I'm actually over droning quite a bit. I defended really well, and because I expected to lose some drones, I just naturally preemptively started building the drones. Let's go back one little bit right here when the lair was done. As you can tell, there's always a lot of things to talk about, so we gotta rewind so we can talk about everything that's going on in the game. When the lair is done, as I said, I try to get all my gases. I get roach speed plus 1 missile upgrade and also a HYDRA den pretty much immediately. The HYDRA den, I do not plan on building HYDRAs early on. I want to use the HYDRAs mainly against void rays, and the point of these links is so I can kind of prod in and be like, okay, so he's building sentries, most likely not pure void ray. I want to know at this point, is my PROTOSS opponent going for pure void ray or like pure sky toss, because oracles into sky toss is a thing as well, or is he actually playing a different composition? So if I see sentries and zealots and adepts, I can kind of guess that it's not gonna be the pure void ray composition, because void ray sentry is not really a composition that people play. Sentries are very squishy, and that's why I did that. Then once my first upgrade was near completion, I start my second upgrade. I'm getting my hydralisk upgrade. Sometimes I get speed first, sometimes I get range first. I don't really have a good plan for that. Like in general, I think speed is better because it helps you catch up to warp prisms, to void rays, and move out of storm. But sometimes I still get range first. I think in this game I actually kind of forget speed. I'm not sure how long I forget it, but it happens. Usually I get speed, HYDRA speed first, and then HYDRA range. It's important that I have creep spread in this area of the map and in this area. Over here I'm actually lacking a bit, because PROTOSS has 2 main attack paths on this map, through the middle or along the bottom. Those are the 2 paths you usually get attacked. Kinda depends. If you take this base as your 4th, you usually get attacked over here. What I did build at home once... So what I'm doing at home is, once my HYDRA den is done, after a little bit of time, after I have my bases saturated, after I have enough gas on the way, I start my lurker den, because I need some defensive posture before I can start the lurkers, and also start an infestation pit at the same time. Usually you can actually start the... Here's a little trick. You can start the infestation pit. Once the infestation pit is done, you start the hive and lurker then, and at the same time, and then they will both finish at the same time, and you can start the lurker upgrades as soon as the lurker then is done. The lurker upgrades are very important. Without lurker range, lurkers are not that good against PROTOSS. Because PROTOSS units have a lot of range, so it's besides like the Zealot and Archon, but usually you want to somehow deal with the Immortals, because the Immortals are the big damage dealers against the lurkers. So you want the lurker upgrades as soon as you possibly can get them. But it's also true that you need lurkers to deal with the PROTOSS army when he eventually pushes. He's gathering his energy for his storm right now. He's at 110. He's most likely pushing once every Templar has 2 storms. Then I started my hive. The 4th base, let's look at the 4th base timing quickly. The 4th base I usually start when I have my main, natural and 3rd base saturated. It can be kind of hard to defend the 4th base against Void Rays, for example. I also like to build an additional round of queens around the time I have my main, 3rd and natural saturated, and use all the queens that I have at my disposal to spread a little bit more creep. Because in the late game, creep spread is very important, because you might want to build Spore Crawler wall or something like that. So I start building additional queens in the late game. And you always need a couple of roaches, because without roaches you might get overrun by charge slots or archons, and you don't want that. Hydralisks do quite a bit of DPS, but they're very squishy, and you do not want your Hydralisk to be attacked. Exactly. Once the 4th base is done, I don't really need a 5th base very early on, but I want to be on 4 bases so I can have 8 gases at least. 8 gases is decent for the mid game, so I can get a defensive posture. The more bases I take, the more I spread myself out. I oftentimes lose this base to an attack of the PROTOSS. I'm trying to secure it with a spine crawler wall. By placing them like this, I minimize the surface area of the PROTOSS. Got my lurkers ready, and as I said, around when he has 150 energy on the High Templar, he starts moving out. Now I'm kind of posturing in the middle of the map right here. Got a Zealot run by, cleaning that one up quickly. I'm not sure if he actually has an observer here. It doesn't. Yeah, he eventually reveals my lurkers, and I'm trying to keep the lurkers alive by transfusing them. And at this point in the game, I don't really plan on killing him. I can't really do too much damage to him. My macro is also kind of falling apart. I'm starting to build links right now for whatever reason. Should have probably built hydras. And I realized, I actually forgot my hydra speeds. I'm only getting it now. I'm getting the +2 carapace upgrade. Carapace upgrades. It used to be that ZERG players said, no, just get melee and range upgrades, because Immortals do like 50 to 60 damage per shot to armored units. So whether they do 59 or 60, it doesn't matter that much. But the carapace upgrades are really good against both zealots and carriers, especially against carriers, because every interceptor's damage will be reduced. So that's very important. I gotta deal with the warp prism, because if he warps in zealots into my main base, there's a good chance that I die. The one swarm host, a key component to every build. Kinda misclicked. And my lurker upgrades are starting to be done. And at this point in the game I feel very comfortable, right? They slowly expanded. You don't need you don't really need to expand to 8, 9, 10 bases. Economically speaking, you don't want more than 80 drones, I think. I feel like 80 drones is a good point at which you can stop. You can decide whether you want 8 gases or 10. If you go 10 gases, you will have 30 drones on gases and 50 drones on the minerals. The more bases you take, the more bases you have to secure with spine crawlers as well, because charge slots will... either you have to put spine crawlers or lurkers here, or maybe even both, and you definitely need a spore crawler against oracles and TTs. So the more bases you take, the more you need to invest in defense of those bases. So do not try to overexpand. I kind of expand everywhere right now, but I do not plan on defending this base. Like, he attacks it, I'm like, okay, you can have that base. I go and check. I should have cancelled it, but it's kind of like when PROTOSS just takes a base and it's like, well, I mean, if you let me have it, I'm just gonna build some shield barriers and cannons and be happy about it. But if you cancel the base, then so be it, right? I'll just take it later when I actually need the base. Because, I mean, I couldn't mind send these drones now to different bases, but there's a whole lot of things going on. You can always do more. And now we're starting to reach a point where I have my upgrades done, where I have my HYDRA lurker army ready. And what I do is I split up my army into 2 portions. And it's very important that you attack the PROTOSS at 2 places at the same time. I'm choosing the top, and I have this army positioned defensively right now in case it attacks into me. I need lurkers in both armies, and I'm just sieging him over here. Like, the lurkers require a big response out of him. And you can see he already has the carriers ready. You're never happy when you get this, when you see carriers, but my +2 carapace upgrade is almost done, and the +2 carapace will help a lot. Lurkers naturally start with +1 carapace, so you want the hydras that you have a little bit at the back, while you have the roaches and lurkers at the front. And then, while he's focusing on the defense in this part of the map, I move on to the second area and go for a push at this space, at his 4th. And I have to spread him thin. I'm also getting my transition ready. I got the pathogen glands upgrades, and so I can start hammering in infestors as well. Simply walking on top of his army there, trying to clear it up. The moment I attack him and he moves his army down to this space, I attack him again up here. You want to attack the PROTOSS at multiple places at the same time. Got a brilliant shot off there. Kinda lucky with the lurkers, and also trying to deal with him in this part of the map. We gotta attack everywhere we can at the same time, right? Lurkers go in, he has to invest resources, zealots, carriers. And you can tell the carapace upgrade really helps against the carrier shots. Like, the carriers take quite a while to clean these lurkers up. Lurkers keep shooting. At the same time, I'm attacking him down here. I have the lurkers at the front. So the high armor lurkers are the first units that get shot at. And they also take care of his high templars, so I can move in. Then when I start fighting the carriers for real, I throw down the microbial shroud, so my units take less damage. Also helps a lot with keeping your lurkers alive. These carriers already lost all their interceptors because I fought against them earlier, so now I'm going in for the carriers with a lot of interceptors. He was able to clean up the lurkers up there, and he's slowly dying down here, while I'm getting my ultralisk upgrades ready, so I can add ultralisks to my army composition as well. And yeah, that is kind of how I think CVP should play out. I'm at 80 drones. I have my 10 gases. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 50 drones on the minerals. 51. Who cares? And getting my ultralisk ready. And I just have to keep his base count low now before he can truly explode. Important to always go for double-pronged attacks. Attack him at multiple angles. Attack him where he's weak, where he has the least amount of defense, and try to win the game. That being said, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough of the CVP matchup. I'll post the replay in the description below. And if you liked the video, please subscribe. Please give the video a like. I'm always happy. I'm happy if you guys enjoy the content. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments down below. Thank you all for watching. Have a nice weekend, or whenever you watch this video. Maybe you are not even watching it in 2021. Maybe you are from the future and you are looking back at the travesty that was 2021.